We share our stuff, we share our strategies. What's the number one way to get people to call you? It's the consistency of the message that means more. Other than that, what are you doing to be in front of people? I hate to break it to you, but that's not just farming, that's everything. I think you're wasting your money. I don't think it's in any way, shape, or form enough. And they
Yeah.
literally have 74,000 choices of who they're bringing through their front door. You're not a specialist. You're not focused. It doesn't make you any different. You're just advertising. Every 8 weeks, you need to be back in front of somebody in the flesh.
We're back. We had last week off. That's because neither Taylor and I were around. So we just figured let's just cancel the episode. And then Taylor currently is at the Tom Ferry Summit in Texas. And so I figured I'd replace him with someone better. So this week
But they
we
weren't
have,
available, so I'm here.
and then the person that who wasn't available after
Yeah,
that also wasn't here. And eventually I was like, well, I guess
yeah.
Craig will do. Craig will do anything.
Craig will be there.
Yeah, so we made it work. So if you guys don't know Craig, you guys he runs a team, Cindy and Craig, or co-runs with Cindy, being the Cindy and Craig Real Estate. I guess more brokerage officially, but it's
We are a brokerage, yeah.
team-based brokerage.
Correct.
And you guys typically is like 120, 30 deals a year
We
ish.
say 100 somewhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 80, sometimes it's 110-ish. So in and
Yeah.
around 100
And I wanted to
generally.
bring you
Not
on
this
because,
year, but generally.
yeah, everyone's a little down this year. One of the reasons I wanted to bring you guys, like you on specifically, is you've been doing direct mail for so long.
Very long
And
time.
I appreciate that you track your numbers like almost nobody else in the business. And more people should track that way. So, like, for reference, when I was asking you about this, then to promote it in like the newsletter, you had it down since 2007 exactly how much you've spent, which was around 700,000 on direct mail, and you've generated over 4 million in
Yeah,
commission from
4.8
that.
something.
Yeah.
And the one of the things I wanted to get out, just especially with the way that we track everything, you can only ever be part of our farm once. So Amanda and Andrew call us, we come in, we sell, and you buy. That is considered a farm sale. The next
Yeah.
time you buy and sell, you're not a farm anymore. Now you're a past client. So that 4.8, whatever, 33 or whatever that
Yeah.
number was, that's just the first
On the first.
introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing carried through from there.
And roughly speaking, percentage wise, like what's your repeat referral out of your kind of 100-ish deals a year?
34-ish.
Uh,
Um, yeah, it's about 30, I would say 34. Farming usually comes in around 35. They've kind of equaled out in
Yeah.
the last few years. At one point, farming was about 70% of what everything that we did. Um, as the database grew, we have a very tight database where everybody has their own little tag because I'm a data guy. I like being able to
Yeah.
sort and dish out data. And we had this database and it's cleaned, it's scrubbed, and we did nothing with it for like 17 years. Like
Yeah.
literally we had events and we would invite clients out to events and that's it. So last few years, probably 5 years or so. So maybe we ignored it for 15 years, but for the last 5 years or so, Cindy's been working the database a lot more. So that's
Yeah.
brought the numbers a lot more in line. So it's
Yeah.
probably 35 past clients and 35
Yeah.
um, farming.
Awesome. So for people who are here live, if you have questions, like I'm going to go through a bunch of questions for Craig about kind of especially how he started out, lessons learned along the way, all that fun stuff. But if you do have questions specifically, whether it's farming, direct mail, a lot of what I want to talk about today is specific to direct mail. But if you have any
Yep.
questions related to just ask, that's the benefit of being alive. Like you can watch a recording on YouTube, but if you're here live and get involved, then chirp Craig and we can go from there.
Craig has very
So
thick skin.
yeah. We have a relationship, Craig and I, where we rip on each other all the time. It's just part of the fun. So like going back to like you started doing it in 2007, is that when you were like started taking it seriously, or that's just like when you sent out the first bit of direct mail, or that's just when you got in the industry?
So I got in 2006. Cindy's been in since 2003. We met on a team, and When we left the team and we were kind of deciding what it was we wanted to do, we decided, hey, we're gonna try farming. And in 2007, we kind of dipped our toe in the water. It was really the back half of 2008 that things we actually really started taking it seriously. And the evolution of our farm was we actually started out with three different farm areas. They were all in and around 12 to 1,500 homes. I'm out in Durham region, so we had one in North Whitby, we had one in Curtis, and then we had one in Bowmanville. Um, as time started passing, the one in Curtis was doing very well. The one in North Whitby was doing well, but we kept coming up against a particular agent, and that agent kept beating us at the
Yeah.
table. Um, so eventually we were like, why? And Bowmanville, I think we had the Bowmanville farm area for maybe 3 years, and we got one single call from it and never any deals. So we kind of looked at it and we're like, we gave it the time it requires, but instead of cutting that out, why don't we actually put it into the area that's working? So Curtis then went from, 1,200 to 1,600, then it went to half of the town, which was 4,800, and now we just do the entire town, which is 86-ish hundred.
And I'm curious, like, what do you think was the reason that Curtis worked versus the others didn't?
Um, I think there was at the time, I think it's two factors. One of the things was we were in Curtis, we were working with a builder in Curtis at the same time. So we were always in Curtis. And then the second one was that the incumbent number one agent was on the way out. He was in the backside of his career, so it was kind of leaving a void. He was
Yeah.
still beating us. He was still doing more than we were, but we were the young and full of the stuff that you're full of when you're young, and we fought for it.
Yeah.
What ends up happening the more you farm is the more you farm, the more you get from farming. Like people all the time, the number one question I get, and for anyone who does happen to be watching or watching this later, we're very open about our stuff. You'll note from this call or if we ever talk, I've had people reach out to me because they saw my name. Somebody mentioned my name on Real Estate Hacks, and I'm not even in Real Estate Hacks anymore. I left that years ago. But they were like, who does a really good farming business? And my Cindy and I were brought up, and I've had total stranger agents reach out and say like, hey, what can you help me with? And we share our stuff, we share our strategies. It would make you very sad to know that our entire empire is built on a literal calendar, like one of those the
Yeah.
paper calendars. We sit down and we just write in what we want at the beginning of the year, what we want to go out when we want it to go out, and we hand it off to our assistant. And that's literally what we do. Like
Yeah.
that's how we run it. So it's not difficult. It's not a hard thing. But as I was saying, the number one question that I get when I do this is, what's the number one way to get people to call you? And the number one way is to have signs in your
Yeah.
neighborhood. That is
Yeah.
by far the best thing you can do.
And I assume you mean like for sale signs and
For sale
lawns.
signs and
Yeah.
sold signs. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, and on that, because I'm curious, like I'm thinking back to like when I sold, for example, I had an agent who basically to keep me out of a neighborhood that I started getting traction at, started taking listings for free because like they showed me the listing contract. Like, if you can match, and I'm like, he's not
Yeah.
making money. Like I think it was like
Yeah.
0.3% commission even took on two listings to keep me out. Like when you look at stuff like, is that a consideration of like keeping people out, whether it's through commission
No,
or not?
not
But
not by us. So that's
yeah,
actually I didn't get into it, but that's how we
yeah,
lost Whitby. That's how we lost North Whitby. The agent kept because it
yeah,
was we were doing the same number of transactions. We were known the same, but that
yeah,
particular agent was willing to cut by a full percentage point, and Cindy and I
yeah,
do not cut commission. We don't.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
We've walked away at a table from a
yeah.
$1.8 million listing over a quarter point.
Yeah.
So like it
Well,
happens, but
yeah,
we won't. The only
yeah,
people mom, if you end up watching, of course I'm going to help you out, but no, we
yeah,
don't cut. That's not
yeah,
us.
yeah. That makes sense. And it's like again, go back to like the early days. Like, how much have you tested the actual messaging on it? Because like I've heard this a lot with agents where it's like, oh, they only did it because like my design was prettier. Why did theirs work? Or this and that. And like a lot of excuses as to why someone's direct mail didn't work. Like we used to work on your direct mail with you.
Yep.
Like it's not that it's an overly complicated
Nope.
design. Like how much testing's gone into what actually the mail looks like?
So testing is a very we have noticed this year our market share is not where it generally is. So again, we don't look at things as much via revenue or number of transactions. We look at it as a market share because if the pie is bigger, then our piece should be bigger. If the pie is smaller, we should still have the same piece, but our piece is smaller. And part of what we literally talked this over for about 6 hours yesterday. And what we did is we went back and we were looking at, okay, over the years, how many CMAs did we do in this particular year in this month? And what was the messaging we were sending out prior to that? So I think in your world, you call that A/B testing. We don't
Yeah.
really have the ability to do true A/B testing because, I
Yeah.
mean, I know some people will say, oh, use different QR codes or put different, monikers on the bottom. So when they quote that thing, then you know exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
That doesn't really work in
It's not
theory.
perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
not only that, but generally speaking, people aren't calling us the first time they see us, right? It's
Yeah.
it's not that. I understand that every time we send something out, more than likely people are looking at it and it's going into the recycling, and they're looking at it and going into the recycling. It's the consistency of the message that means more.
Yeah.
And when Hannah came back, Hannah is our marketing director. She handles all of that kind of stuff for us. We ended up going in a little bit of a
Yeah.
prettier direction, and our pieces are more visually appealing and they look nicer, but we're not getting the same kind of response out of them.
Yeah.
So what we've just gone back to is back to just the plain meat and potatoes, like we're number one. We've sold the most homes in this neighborhood. Our list to sell ratio is 1.25% higher than the second place competitor.
Yeah.
This is the results that matter. These are the things, these are why you want to use us. And those are the things that always get the best results.
Yeah. And like, let's say on like 1,000 mailouts or
Mhm.
pieces, like how many calls would you expect to get on that?
It, again, it really doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. Like
Yeah.
it really doesn't. It's one of those things where we can tell when either a mailing has been skipped or we can tell that the messaging isn't being well received, but you can't pinpoint like we send out 8,300, we should get 4 calls. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. It's a general sense of the amount of communication we get. And interestingly, too, there's Facebook groups for our community, which there are for all communities. And the number of people who complain about our flyers, that also
Yeah.
tells us if we're being noticed or not. So
Yeah. It's a good metric.
well,
Number
it
of
is a good
complaints.
metric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, remember I sent you that screenshot, and it was
Yeah.
they put up a speed trap out in front of the Curtis Rec Center. The
Yeah.
Curtis Community Complex is what it's actually called. And they were like, well, yeah, they did that because Cindy and Craig's movie night's coming up and that they bring so many people. And we're like, hey, that's perfect. We had
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. But if you want to think that it's us, then we'll take
Yeah.
that. Like, we're okay with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's good
So
branding to have.
yeah. So we look at it more of a metric. I know the general overall when I sent it to you was about um I guess it's a 677% return that we were getting. If you
Yeah.
just look at the pure numbers of we've spent 713,000, we've made back 4.833 or whatever that number is
Yeah.
million. But that includes all of the stuff from when we started and when
Yeah.
we've never lost money. There's never been a year where we've been in the negative with farming, but there are some years where it's been break even. Now we're much closer to 8.5 to 9.25 on our return on investment, and that's what we
Yeah.
look at. That's
And
where we
like,
keep that's the way we keep tabs on
yeah.
things.
And I'm curious, like, because this is one where I think a lot of people like try direct mail. They like,
Mhm.
send out a couple mailers and then stop. So when you're thinking of, and when my mind thinks about it, it's like both the consistency of like how long do you have to just send the direct mail, but it's also then what are the other activities you have to do that supports it to make it work? Because it's not just like you only send a piece of mail and that's all you have to do. Like there, like I know you guys have your movie night and other things like that in
Yep.
the community.
So we are the worst ones to talk about this actually, because one of the reasons we picked direct mail is because we're both lazy. We didn't
Yeah,
want to pick up the phone. We didn't want to make phone calls. We were happy to, I've always described it as let our money fly out the door and then it comes back and it brings, nine of its friends with
yeah,
it. So what you should be doing, and what I would do if I was starting now, because is you have to door knock. You have to
yeah,
be in your area. We've had people who have sat with us and taken our templates. I can't even call them templates. It's much too strong of a word, but taking our cadence, that's probably a
yeah,
better word, taking our
yeah,
cadence, taking our messaging, and then they've combined it with door knocking and been able to get up to 200K in the first year that they've been in the business.
yeah,
If Cindy and I got off our ass and actually went door knocking, that number would
yeah,
be so much higher. But
yeah,
what we do now, and again, it all comes, it's a scale thing, right? We have the ability to do it now. And I'm not trying to come off conceited. I'm not trying to come off as we have all the answers, but we now host community events so people can come to us as opposed to us having to go out to them.
yeah,
So now we do a movie in the park. It's in 2 weeks, 2 weeks tomorrow. Again, I've sent videos. We generally have between 1,000 and 15 people, 1,500 people come out. The people who run the movie, the projector screen, they say that we are usually the second or the third largest one that they do every year. The first one is for the city of Ottawa, and it's like 6,000 people. And then it's either
yeah,
us or there's a museum somewhere in Toronto that they do something for. But we go out and we put a sign. You cannot leave us Curtis subdivision without driving by one of our movie in the park signs. And that starts tomorrow. So Cindy and I will literally go out, we'll place, I think it's 67 signs. And every single time you try to leave any exit coming out of a Curtis neighborhood, you'll see that our movie in the park is this week or next week.
And how do
So, and
you
then,
like do you have to go get permission from the
yeah,
town for
permit.
that level?
That's a
Yeah.
permit. Yeah.
Yeah. And
We
how
we get a
much like
permit for it.
that take like how much effort does that take to get all those? It's pretty easy.
It's actually very simple. It's
Yeah.
very simple. You just have your marketing director call and then no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they do
It's
it
it's
all.
really simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really simple. It's basically an application. And then with the application, they'll come back and tell you what requirements you need. So
Yeah.
they now in the good old days, they used to, provide the bathrooms because they were at the
Yeah.
complex, and they would provide. Now we have to bring in porta potties, and we have to bring
Yeah.
in mobile hand washing stations, and the
Yeah.
insurance has certain requirements, but it's not difficult at all.
Yeah.
So what that kind of dovetails back to is when you said, would you take a listing at a lesser commission to leave somebody to knock somebody else out? We wouldn't fight in that way, but we would fight in other ways. So if we saw somebody was getting a large market share, we would, redouble our efforts. That would probably be enough to have Cindy and I go out and knock on doors we have before,
Yeah.
to like in that general area to make sure you're stemming it at the source and just generally make sure that we're seen more. Like
Yeah.
nobody is going to outmarket us in Curtis.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one of the things that when we come and we sit down, we're going to make sure that you understand that we're not going to be outdone yet. When it's time to let go, that'll be a different
Yeah.
story. But right now, no, no, we wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah. And so like when you think of farming as a whole, like what are
Mhm.
you have the movie night in the park, you got your direct mail, like what are the other pieces that you guys do, if any, to complement that?
Well, you have to be visible. Like again, and the number one way that you can be visible is signs. Like that's
Yeah.
by far the number one way. They're there 24 hours a day. People are going to drive by and they're going to see them, especially if you get them on those in and out streets.
Yeah.
Um, But other than that, what are you doing to be in front of people? So one of the things that Cindy and I do is we sponsor local soccer teams, and our local club. We have a deal with them that no team will ever go unsponsored. So they go out and they get all of their sponsors for the year, and then they come back to us and they say, okay, we weren't able to sponsor 5 teams, or we weren't able to
Yeah.
sponsor 3 teams or whatever, and we pick up the tab of that. That was all well and good until in COVID, they were like, we can't get any sponsors. We have 17 teams that are unsponsored. And then it was
Yeah.
literally like Cindy and Craig 3 are playing Cindy and Craig 7, and Cindy and Craig 14 are playing. So
Yeah.
but if you do little things like that, so you sponsor a team and the team's only a couple $100. I think it's $325 to sponsor. So then you get your team schedule and then you show up. And you show up to the
Yeah.
game and you're like, hey, we're Cindy and Craig. We've taken water bottles. We've taken branded, of course. We've taken little sacks that the kids can put their cleats in and their stuff in.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is what you want to do. So you want to be visible in the community the best way that you possibly can.
Yeah.
And the least expensive options are generally the most uncomfortable options for most people. I am a big guy. I don't
No.
want to be scaring people at their door. Like they just see my imposing shadow when they're walking to their front door. Like that's
I
not
mean,
what
that's what
we
you
want to
think. It's
do.
actually just your face.
Yeah, but they can't see
Just
that
scares
through the
them away.
door, right? Yeah.
It's an aura.
Um, yeah, we do movie in the park, which I
Yeah.
talked about. We also do home show tickets. So we
Yeah.
offer home show tickets to the entire community, to 8,300 homes,
Yeah.
absolutely free. It's on us. I think the home show tickets now cost $14 a piece. Whenever somebody registers, so we get their name, their address, their telephone number, their email address, and then Cindy and I will go and we'll personally deliver them. So we knock on the
Yeah.
door and we're like, "Hey, Andrew," and you're like, "Yeah," and you're all, and then we say, "I'm Craig from Cindy and Craig. You asked for some home show tickets. Here they are." And then immediately, it's amazing to watch how things change, and it just
Yeah.
the whole perspective changes, and then if you're have the time and the energy, then you follow up after the home show. You say,
Yeah.
"Hey, Andrew, how was the home show?" So just get in front of people.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And I hate to break it to you, but that's not just farming. That's everything. Like if
Yeah.
you choose to do online leads, you got to be making calls. If you're working your COI, you got to be making calls. If you're farming, you got to be contacting people.
Yeah.
That's
At the end of the day, it's like
that's what it is.
everything is you sort of create as many conversations as you can,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
just how you do that changes,
Yeah.
whether it's
That's right.
cold calling or direct mail. And going back to direct mail, for like, what is the cadence you send them out at? Because I know that's a big one for people, like a lot of, like monthly newsletters, things
Yep.
like that. How often are you
Mo-
sending?
I would say monthly is a waste of time.
Mhm.
I think you're wasting your money. I don't think it's in any way, shape, or form enough. It's not enough exposure. And the other thing that I kind of laugh at is people who send novels. Yeah, the first thing you have to get into your brain is that it's junk mail. All you want is to be recognized. You want people to see it. You want them to see your logo. You want them to see Cindy's face because you don't want them to see my face. And you just, as they're throwing it out and as they're
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, God damn, it's them again. Oh my God, it's Cindy and Craig again."
Yeah.
Um, what ends up happening is it just starts unconsciously or subconsciously building that brand recognition, right? What is it Coke says? Their goal is to have everybody within 1 block of a Coke everywhere in the world. Like
Yeah.
that's their big mission. So you want people to be in seeing you all the time. And you want them to not be lost in the content. You want them to look at it because if they're interested, they're going to pay attention. If they're
Yeah.
not interested, it doesn't matter what you write. They're
Yeah.
not going to pay any attention to it. So we send out every second week. So that's immediately 26 a year that we send out, and it's those are our kind of like our standard home evaluation certificates. Then in there, we send out three home show invites. We send out three movie in the parks. We also send out a Christmas card to everybody, although we called it a holiday card, and then we laugh at the number of people who write in and tell us that we didn't have the balls to call it a Christmas card, therefore they will never use us. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Um, yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah,
And we also send out a little magnet calendar. And the little
yeah,
magnet calendar, that's a pretty expensive proposition. It's somewhere in the vicinity of 6 grand US that it costs us. But again, we're getting
yeah,
like 9,000 of them. Um, that is by far our most effective piece. People
yeah,
call us all the time. People are like, you're on, when we walk in, they're like, there you are, you're on the fridge. We see you every day.
yeah,
Um, yeah, even listings that we don't get when we're showing buyers, we're still on their fridge. It's amazing.
yeah.
That's one of the best keep in your faces that I could recommend.
Yeah, one of my mentors when I started selling, his most effective piece wasn't a magnet, it was a notepad. That was like your
Mhm.
grocery notepad. And they made it a different color and they put their faces and like to this day, like they don't even use them anymore. And they don't like they're not even a team that
Yeah.
sells together anymore. I will still see people using their notepads in the grocery store sometimes that I'm walking through.
I have a Remax guy's notepad in my
Yeah,
desk here that I use at the office, at my Cindy and Craig office. Like
yeah,
they're effective, they work. The only difference is they're not always in your face, right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
calendar on the fridge, people are
yeah.
seeing all the time.
Now, have you hit the level yet where you're on the list for you grew up in Curtis went?
No, because interestingly, neither of us live in Curtis or grew
Oh,
up in Curtis. We
yeah.
specifically picked something. I didn't want my neighbors. I'm pretty antisocial, believe it or not. Um, I
Yeah,
didn't want my neighbors to corner me when I'm coming home.
yeah,
After I've had a long day, I don't want my neighbors to talk to me about real estate, which is the most anti-sales thing you could ever say.
yeah,
But Cindy actually, she says it's kind of weird that when we are together in Curtis, which is very often, but if we're like at a restaurant or a grocery store, we do get looks. And
yeah,
we were in a Home Depot and we were looking at something and people walked by and they made a comment about, making sure the staging's done right or something. And so that's exactly what I didn't want. And that's the reason
yeah,
but that's the whole reason it was designed that way.
yeah. So you
But
specifically went market adjacent.
we did. Yeah, I live
Yeah,
two towns over in Whitby.
yeah,
And we've had agents use that against us or attempt to use that against us.
yeah,
Um, and we simply firebombed the area with don't fall for well, I live in and work in, like go to the
yeah,
people who actually know. Don't
yeah,
don't go to the person who says I live here and I've done, three transactions in the last 2 years.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So yeah, it's no, we remember a lot of stuff because we've been selling for so long. We're
yeah,
somewhere over 700 houses sold in a town of 8,300. So,
yeah,
it tells you that
yeah.
we've done quite a bit, but
I'm
no.
curious, how much do you hear? Because like I see this a lot with agents who like do that farming where their face is everywhere. And some it's they don't see it because they're like not online enough or different. Like, do you or like sometimes you'll get calls. Like I remember when I used to door knock and leave flyers, I'd get calls complaining about it. Like,
Mhm.
how much do you hear on like the negative side from all the stuff you're putting out?
A fair amount.
Yeah,
Um, that's probably a little bit too strong. Let's say maybe a handful a year,
yeah,
3 to 5 a year. And usually it's things like we've saved it somewhere. I've got it somewhere. I should have pulled it out for this, but somebody
yeah,
actually took one of our flyers and put the swastika on Cindy's forehead and gave her a beard and devil's horns and made me into a pretty ballerina and sent it back. Like we were like, oh my God, we got our actual first hate mail. And we kept
yeah,
it because we thought
yeah,
that was pretty awesome. But
yeah,
usually people they just make up some, pardon the English, so some inane bullshit and they send it
yeah,
in and they're like, don't you know how many trees you're killing? You're really upsetting my daughter. Or, and then we just explain to them that, hey, we, do everything on recycled paper, and you
Yeah.
can recycle it when you're done. And
Yeah.
if you're, unfortunately, you're never going to please everybody all the time. And
Yeah.
usually the standard response I have for that is like, yeah, I understand it can be annoying if you're not looking for it. But when you are looking for it, who is it that you want representing you? The person who, works part-time at GM, or the person who sold more than double the number of homes in your community that the nearest competitor has at an average of 1.52% higher than that second place team.
Yeah.
What also keep your eye on our stuff, because we do other great things like give away home show tickets and do movie in the park. And so, we spin it the best way. We've actually got a listing out of spinning one of them. But yeah, there's hate, and you have to take the hate with
Yeah.
it.
It's part of the
There's
fun.
to us it is, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
to us it is.
I used to take it more personally, and then I bought REM. Then I got used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, so taking the interviewer's role here, how many hate mail pieces do you get a day?
I don't know that it's daily. It depends on the stories that are out there, right? Like when
Yeah.
ORWP was happening, and I guess it still technically is happening, but you know what I mean. And really, like the fun one with that for me was it was both sides were pissed at us.
Yes.
Like both sides were accusing us of being in the pockets of the other side and supporting the other side, and
Yeah.
but like equal level of vitriol for the most part from both sides. So I
That's
was
how
like,
you
all
know
right,
you've covered it
yeah,
well.
we've
Yeah.
threaded the needle. And then the iPro stuff, we don't get a lot of in terms of like we're not like we're doing something wrong. We're getting a little bit of like, why aren't you doing more? And then some of it, like one of my favorite things, and I've noticed this with the iPro one specifically, is people are like, why aren't you covering this? And then like their next post is like, oh, I don't read the news because it's like full of
Yeah.
crap. And I was like, but then you can't say why you haven't seen this in the news when you just said you don't read the news. Like we'll get people being like, oh no, you haven't covered it. Like I remember this happened with RWP one time. Like we had an ad that just like sign up for our newsletter, and someone was like, we like, I'm so disappointed you guys haven't even tried to touch on this ORWP thing. And like my response was, here's the 10 articles
Yeah.
that we've done, right? Like
Here's
that
a
stuff happens.
specific part of the website we have dedicated just to this.
Yeah. Or like people being like, "Oh, I submitted a like a an article. Why didn't you guys run it?" And I'll respond with the link to it published last week. So like that stuff happens, but like you just kind of get used to it. But it's, I mean, it's I have developed a much thicker skin in the last couple of years. I mean, it was already fairly thick,
Yeah.
but I have since made it thicker.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun. It's, but I mean, that's part of being kind of public and out there, right? Like it's you just kind of get used to it.
Well, the alternative is, if you're
Yeah.
not doing enough transactions to be recognized. I mean,
Yeah.
it says something. The part of farming that the reason that you farm is when you get to a point where, you're walking in, and people,
Yeah.
it's not a CMA anymore. It's a come list me, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're going for. And when you walk in and they say like, yeah, we're competing, but we have to, or the other fun one is, we had to have three people come in because it's a relocation or it's a separation or whatever, and then we
Yeah.
get in the door when we normally wouldn't, and then we end
Yeah.
up winning because it's we're just too powerful.
Yeah.
And I say all the time, in Curtis, you're not going to beat us because we just tell me something about Curtis that I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's a line that I use. Once you get outside of Curtis, sure, it's fair game. I understand. You can't possibly know every community as well
Yeah.
as you can't. People just don't have that kind of knowledge. But we chose to focus there, and the results are pretty good.
And like roughly speaking, like how many of yours are you like in true competition on your listings now versus just come list me's?
I would guess less than half that there's any sort of serious competition. It's pretty
Yeah.
rare that people don't have other agents in. But I
Yeah.
mean, I know that a lot of the coaches are like, you have to be the last one in. You have to. We don't care. We're
Yeah.
like, they'll say, oh, we had another agent, but they would like to be the last ones in. We're like, that's fine. You're gonna see how amazing we are, and
Yeah.
it's fine. Like
Yeah.
we tell people, interview other people because we feel that shows our value even stronger. So I would guess about, yeah, just a little bit over half. There probably isn't other competition. It's just us.
Yeah.
Um, the time where we do run into competition is when we walk in and they don't like what we have to say.
Yeah.
Um, so there's one that's currently on the market in our farm area in Curtis. Cindy went to see them and told them one price, and another agent took the listing $300,000 higher than Cindy's top
Yeah.
end. Is that a loss? Did we lose that listing?
No, now it's going to sit on the market. It looks like you can't sell a house.
Yeah, I don't know that we lost that one, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, you'll be
if
their
they get it,
next
great.
agent.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, because that would then admit that they were wrong and people can't do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's we don't lose very often in
Yeah.
Curtis in our
Yeah.
farm.
And how much business do you do outside of Curtis at all? Or is it almost like all Curtis?
Um, we're probably, I would say 65, probably two-thirds Curtis, and then the
Yeah.
rest is outside. One of
Yeah.
the things that makes our business model both scary and impressive at the same time is we are consistently number one. We have been since 2016. We're generally more than double the closest competitor in the number of listings that we sell in our farm area. But all we do is move clients out of our farm area because
Yeah.
people call and they're like, "Oh, I'm going out east. I'm going home. I'm going home." We get that more
Yeah.
than probably anything else. So we're constantly taking clients and moving them and never speaking to them again, but we
Yeah.
are still able to keep replicating, the same numbers, except
Yeah.
this year. This year you know, it's different this year.
The market's a little different in the GTA.
It is different in the
Yeah.
GTA, but yeah.
Yeah.
But again, our percentages are off. So
Yeah.
that's what sparked. Oh, what else you have to do? You have to keep your eye on things. Like you really
Yeah.
have to know what's going on. You have to know who your competitors are. You have to know their list to sale ratios and how many times, how many sales they're doing. I am not, I have sent emails when we've been in competition and it's been more of a strict competition. What we
Yeah.
do is Cindy will like, she really connects with one of the partners. And so she'll send me an email and she'll be like, I got this from her. And it's like, oh, but they really liked X agent. So I will literally go and pull up all of X agent's stats and I will send an email to Cindy, making it look like I'm just sending it to Cindy to say, well, this is what that person has done. So
Yeah.
here are the two transactions that they did in Curtis over the past 24 months. Here are the 48 transactions that we've done in Curtis over the past 24 months. Here's our list to sale. Here's the volume that we did. And then Cindy will take that and she'll be like, I really shouldn't be sending you this, but, and then sends it over to
Yeah.
the client. And what do you have to say at that point in time? Right?
Yeah.
Like
Like it's
you
pretty
can't
clear.
compete with our stats. Yeah, you can't compete
Yeah.
with our stats. So
Yeah.
sometimes that's what it takes when you're competing, but you need to know. And you need to know who's up and coming, and you need to know what they're doing and what they're offering to make sure that you're in line.
Yeah. And like for you, when you're thinking of like the going back to the actual pieces you send out, are you always sending them just to call the office? Do you like send to the website? Like what's the actual
No,
approach there?
call us. It's always
Yeah.
call us. We do get a fair number of people who fill in the online contact us form for CMAs, but it's we're not QR code people.
Yeah.
Um, we're pretty, old school that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always call. We get a fair number of calls, we get a fair number of emails in, but I would say it's probably a little bit more call than it is email for CMA requests.
And do you have like a receptionist who just sits there all week answering calls, or like is it
Yeah,
coming to Cindy? You? Yeah.
we have an admin.
Yeah.
Other than Hannah, we have like a true admin booking
Yeah.
showings, deal secretary, so on. Because remember, we're a brokerage as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, she answers the calls. But another piece, if you really want some
Yeah.
gold, is show up and be in the office. Like
Yeah.
get to the office at 9 o'clock, leave at 5 o'clock. It's a real job and actually do things. So most of the time we're here lately because we haven't had a lot of CMAs, but yeah, we're here, or
Yeah.
if we're not here because we're out on an appointment, then they get a call back within 20 minutes, half an hour tops. And
Yeah.
and a lot of times people are sometimes first to the phone just wins.
Yeah.
They, so
And do you get
yeah,
walk-ins ever like at the office, or it's just
no,
you being there to get the phone?
yeah, no walk-ins. Our office is Whitby.
Yeah.
So our office is out of our farm area as well. We've had major competitors put offices in the middle of Curtis to, try to supplant us, and, good for them. Good luck. Didn't work.
Yeah.
They're not there anymore.
Yeah.
We're two towns away.
So it's like, do you have any other like ways that you handle the objection of you guys not being there besides just like showing the stats, or like is it literally just here's the stats? You can see it doesn't matter.
We don't get that I don't think I've ever really had that objection. But even
Yeah.
if I did, it's like, okay, explain to me why that, like, what is it in your mind that makes that so important? Like, are you worried I
Yeah.
don't know the area? Are you worried that, I'm not out here enough?
Yeah.
What is it that you're worried about? And
Yeah.
we've actually had people, question us and say, I had one and he was like, so you do a lot in Curtis? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what's the street behind you? And I started laughing and I said, okay, so you've had another agent come in because that's the dirty trick that agents, they're like, oh, you know the area so well, what's the name of the street behind us? And I said, well, the name of the street behind you is Beechnut Crescent. We sold number 93, number 95, number 91, number 47, and number
Yeah.
11. And then the street across from that is Lindale. We sold 2, 46, 84. And he's like, that's okay. And I was like, no, and then across the street is Wyndham. And we sold, and he's like, all right, all
Yeah.
right. And they have done like 17 deals with us since then.
Yeah, that's pretty. And how much is it like, do you deal with investors much, or is it almost all like
No.
families moving in and out?
Yeah. No, almost it's very rare we deal with investors,
Yeah.
which is ironic because I've been an investor for, more than 25 years, so I
Yeah.
understand it. But
Yeah.
no, we really what our experience has been, and this is another little like when I thought about, I knew you would lead things today, but when I thought about like what are some of the things that I
Yeah.
want to get out, one of the things that I was really wanted to get out was I think in this business, it's so much. There's like we end every appointment by reminding people that there are 74,000 agents on the Toronto board, and they
Yeah.
literally have 74,000 choices of who they're bringing through their front door.
Yeah.
So you got to think of that as an agent. Like you're one of 74,000. So what you offer staging, great. You're still one of what, 40,000 that
Yeah.
offer staging? You know what like
Yeah.
what is it that truly sets you apart? Somebody is entrusting you with the biggest financial decision that they're ever going to make. Why you? Like really think about that and what
Yeah.
is it about you that makes you the right choice? And if you carpet bomb an entire region with 150,000 flyers, you're not a specialist. You're not focused. It doesn't make you any different. You're just advertising. When we were leaving our brokerage back in 2016, we were with a Remax brokerage out here. We were number one. We were number one in terms of sales. Our brokers of records, we were very upfront with them. They knew we were looking at opening our own thing, but they said to us, they put the last ditch meeting was, what are you going to do outside of Curtis? And it actually made us pause. And we're like, yeah, you know what? We thought about that, but we're okay with that. Like we're
Yeah.
okay to be known as, I am not suggesting by any stretch that Cindy and Craig is as well known as the Remax is in Curtis. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm okay with being known as, yeah, I'm that pocket guy.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And if that means I lose listings in the town next to us, I lose a listing in Oshawa because I'm known as the Curtis guy. That's okay because I'm the Curtis
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. But then
Cindy
you
has
get
a
everything Curtis.
well, Cindy has a moniker. The other agents call her the Countess of Curtis. That's her name. She's the Countess, and so they'll call her and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Countess."
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah,
So when you're doing like you have that goes out. If like have you ever looked at doing a weekly or you just found like biweekly is the best or is like weekly overkill if you move to that for your
I
mail?
think weekly would be overkill.
Yeah.
But again, you say that, and I guess we got sidetracked somewhere along the way there. But
Yeah. We never do that when we talk.
no, but back to it. So we're touching
Yeah.
people 26 times a year because every bi-weekly. Then we're
Yeah.
floating in about six others for events. We used to do a farm event too at a Curtis farm, go
Yeah.
figure. So that was usually an extra three. That farms changed hands. It's become a
Yeah.
lot more adult bougie than the kid place that it used to be.
Yeah.
So we don't do that anymore. Um, and then we send the Christmas card. We send the you got we send the magnet calendar. And then we also, because we're so on top of the market, we interlace
Yeah.
things in real time, basically. And I know that printing takes a few days and delivery and so on, but when we notice that there's a run on bungalows, we'll actually
Yeah.
send that out. We'll be like, hey, Curtis, there are, as of right now, there are two bungalows in all of Curtis. If you've got a bungalow and you're looking to sell, now's the time.
Yeah.
And then, so based on all of that stuff, we're hitting people between 37 and 45 times a year.
Yeah.
So it's not quite every week, but by the time you kind of put it all in there, you're up to,
Yeah.
twice out of every 3 weeks.
Do you ever do like we have a buyer mails or is it always just like there's a run on this looking for that?
No, I think we might have a couple times. But oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have, but not often. Like
Yeah.
we don't. The majority of what we do is selling. We don't like we generally run about 75%
Yeah.
listings. In fact, for 3 years in a row, is at 74%. So I'm pretty confident in saying that. But we're listing heavy agents. We don't deal a
Yeah.
lot with buyers.
So when like obviously a lot like obviously the primary goal is to sell the house for your clients, but when you're
Mhm.
also looking at it's one like you mentioned with the signs, a great tool for getting clients. So when you
Yep.
think of like your marketing from that perspective, like what's worked really well when you've been taking listings to just bring more business in from them?
It is honestly, it's signs. Like it
Yeah.
truly, truly is. The more somebody sees your signs in the neighborhood, even when we were first starting out, we were getting our ass kicked by, Mr. Winding Down. Um, People would be like, "Man, we see you guys everywhere. And you've been killing it for a long time." We're like, "We've been partners for 12 months." Like, no, we
Yeah.
haven't, we haven't, but
Yeah.
you're seeing it, so
Yeah.
that perception is
Okay.
reality. And I don't want to say it doesn't matter because stats are important. The other piece, I will repel some people at the table because I am extremely stats heavy and I talk a lot of
Yeah.
numbers and people don't like that. But Cindy is the exact opposite. Cindy doesn't know
Yeah.
stats. She doesn't want to know stats. I call her fluffy. She gets really mad at me for it, but she's the like, I remember your kids' names and oh, your
Yeah.
dog's really cute. Like, so when we go, because we go on most listing appointments together, we pick up
Yeah.
on that. And it's like, nope, they're teachers, they're accountants. Craig's going to take the lead on this one, or they're not. They're
Yeah.
artistes or they're guitarists, and then Cindy takes the lead and I shut up. So
Yeah.
um but honestly, Andrew, the number one thing that you can do, like if I were to actually lay it out as a blueprint to do, if
Yeah.
I were coaching someone to do it, I would tell them to have stock pieces. And the stock pieces, what I mean by that is you're going to have 6 months of a flyer that you simply print in bulk because it's going to be so much cheaper than trying to print it every second week. So
Yeah.
you're going to have core piece number one that goes out every 4 weeks. And then you're going to do that again with core piece number two. And that's going to go out every 4 weeks, but starting on week two. So it's going to be core piece one on week two, core piece two on week four, and rotate for 6 months. Because if
Yeah.
you put in the 6 months and you pay for it, number one, you're committed. And number two, it is going to be a lot cheaper than doing it individually. And then having it pick the farm area that has good turnover. And by turnover, I don't mean spend 3 days looking at all the numbers. I mean, use your head, find the lower price stuff, the townhouses, the complexes, that kind of stuff that are always churning. And you need to pick an area that you can physically touch every 8 weeks. So if you can touch, a door a day and that's all you can do, or make one phone call a day or whatever, then your farm area is going to be 80. If you can do
Yeah.
10 a day, it's going to be 800. But every 8 weeks, you need to be back in front of somebody in the flesh.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if I had to do it all over again.
Yeah. If you actually left the office now.
If I left the office, yes. Yes. You
Yeah.
should, but then my butt grooves in my chair,
Yeah.
they don't
They get
sit quite
cold.
right anymore. Yeah, that's yeah. It's
I don't have to
memory
pay for
foam,
heated seats.
it.
It's just natural.
Yeah.
So if you had moved to like a new area, do you think you could do it without leaving the office, or do you think you'd have to
No,
kind of go back and get on the ground again?
no, you'd have to get on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question that you'd have to get on the ground. I think our success would have ramped up so much faster had we been on the ground and been a little bit more
Yeah.
dedicated to it. Um, I mean, you want to be touching people as many times as you can with things that matter. And that's the key. So we send out, I mean, again, so we're touching people between 35 and 45 times a year. But on top of that, we'll also have our just listeds and just solds. And then back when we used to, and we're actually going to go back to it, but when we have an open house, we used to take the neighbors only invite, and you
Yeah.
go an hour early and you go up 5, 5, and 10 across the street. And
Yeah.
that way you have the neighbors in, so they're not taking up your time at the open house and chatting your ear off. They can do that an hour ahead of time. They
Yeah.
think that's a great thing if they're nosy neighbors, and it allows you to actually focus on the people coming through the door, not the person that just wants to chat about all the neighborhood gossip.
Yeah.
Just touch, just keep touching. And it's something where you keep offering value and you say, hey, do you want to come see your neighbor's house and see how it compares to your house? That's something
Yeah.
that if they're interested, they're going to take you up on.
Yeah.
And I assume we don't have to get into the minutia of, if they're not interested, say, okay, great, have a nice day and leave, instead of convincing them why they should be interested. You know what
Yeah.
I
You
mean?
need to
But
move. I'm locking the
yeah,
door.
yeah, yeah.
So this has all been like you do print funnels, like, and I know the answer a little bit to this. It might have changed since we helped you out that year. What's your online look like?
It's pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
Like we yeah, it's pretty much non-existent. Back in part of my specialization talk from 10 minutes ago or whatever was back in many years ago. We sat in a room. It was an agent mastermind, and there was like 40 agents in the room. And when people started talking about farming and they saw that Cindy and I were there, we were the bells of the ball. Like everybody
Yeah.
was asking us questions. They wanted all the information. We're giving out everything that we possibly can. And it's just like the next week we go back and that exact same scenario replays, but it's with a pair of sisters. And the sisters have a massive online presence.
Yeah.
And it was the exact same thing. And they're talking about, all the deals they get and how they get them and so on and so forth. And I left that meeting and I was mad. And I was pissed off. And I said to Cindy, I was like, we've been together like 8 years
Yeah.
and we don't have an online presence to speak of. Like, what are we doing? And for the next 3 months, we focused solely on online presence and websites and learning stealth sites because
Yeah.
you're going back to the 2000 teens, early 2000 teens. And then you look up and you're like, where did all the farming business go? And
Yeah.
that's when you realize like I'm chasing this, but I don't have
Yeah. The
I've got a
core.
really a good pillar of business right here, but I'm throwing it
Yeah.
aside to try to chase this other stuff. So we did try to layer in Sync, Commissions
Yep.
Inc. or whatever they call themselves. We dedicated a significant amount of time and money to that. We had an ISA doing the calls for us. Didn't fit who we were. We're
Yeah.
just not aggressive enough to be making those types of calls. This fits. We're good
Yeah.
when we're in front of people, but we want to be in front of people who put their hand up and say, "Hey, this is what we need."
Yeah. Like if I were to build an online presence for you from scratch, I would basically, and let's assume unlimited budget for a minute. I would basically have you start a or buy the community newspapers, just like have like the Curtis Times
Yeah,
and just run it. And then you guys are just the exclusive real estate advertising partner in it.
yeah,
And you just keep putting out the news, what's going on in the community, digital, even that could be part of the print strategy too,
yeah.
stuff like that. Because like that would fit better with your brand
Yes.
than doing like chasing hard. Like, because I think when we worked with you, did we try lead gen for you a bit? Because I know mostly it was. So just for a
We
reference, we had one of our marketing people go on mat leave, so we just stepped in to
Yeah,
help for a year.
yeah.
Yeah,
We do spend, I think it's $1,000 a month or 1,100, bless you, a month on
yeah,
online stuff, but it's
yeah,
mostly just to boost our listings and things like that. It's
yeah,
very rare we get a lead that actually truly comes in from the internet, other
yeah.
than like a realtor.ca lead. That's not our forte at
Yeah, like
all.
it's very low volume, but like at most, I would either do traffic to like the listing thing on your website,
Yep,
video views, or the like call the office line because you can do the
yep,
click to call, and I would just
yep.
focus on those. Um, so you have those going, and like what like you had Commissions Inc. Are there other things you've tried that you've been like that wasn't kind of fitting with what we wanted to do? Like especially like you learned at a conference or things like that.
Not really, because again, we learned that lesson pretty early. Like
Yeah,
Cindy and I have been together now 18 years, just over 18 years. Um, and we learned that, don't chase what you don't
yeah,
have at the expense of what's going really well, like
yeah,
year 4 or 5, maybe.
yeah,
Maybe it was a little bit later. I don't know, but
yeah,
everything, anything is going to work. You just got to put in the work for it. And this fit our personalities the best. Like when we were both on teams, we had to make cold calls. We fucking hated cold calls.
yeah. Same.
Um, yeah. So that wasn't for me. Cindy, she's got a sweet voice and a sweet personality. She was amazed at the amount of people. She's like, nobody's ever told me to fuck off before. I'm like, really? I'm on my fourth one in the past 20 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's not for us.
Yeah.
This just kind of fits a lot better who
Yeah.
we are and what we do. We're much more giving people, and then when it's time to get it back, hopefully it's us.
Yeah. And oh, I had a question there and I lost it. So I don't remember what it was. But that actually is coming right up on three. So for those who are here live, again, we normally do an after show. So if you have time to stick around for a little bit,
Yeah, of course.
awesome. So if you're here live, stick around. We're going to turn off the recording. If you're watching the recording, show up live next time and you can stay for this part. And basically, we're just going to go off camera and talk some more. And if you're here live, ask questions, get involved. Like there's some feedback saying how great this was. But otherwise, if you have questions, so I'm going to turn off the recording. See you guys
Just
next
before you
week.
turn off the
Taylor's back.
recording,
Yep.
just before you turn it off, if there was ever, so anybody watching this, if there was ever a reason for you to show up live, Andrew and Craig off recorded, like there's going to be no record of this. This is the shit you want to see. Like
Yeah.
this, you,
This is what
you
we
missed what we
do.
talked about before.
Yeah. Let's go. Recording off.